Hello, students and my dear friends. Myself HR Chaudhary, working as assistant professor in Department of CSE Engineering College Ajmer. So today we will have a lecture on performance testing. So we see that what topics will be covered in today's lecture. We can see here what is performance testing, why do performance testing. Now will cover the types of performance testing. Then we'll see it the common performance testing problems or performance problems. Then we'll see the performance testing process, and then after we will look at the performance testing matrices and the parameters to be monitored, and then we'll look at the example performance test cases, basically what type of different test cases can be designed, and in the last we'll see at the latest performance tools. So after covering this lecture or after discussing about this lecture, the students will able to define the performance testing. They will be able to utilize this in the practical world. They'll able to understand that why it was required, and they'll able to know the process of the performance testing, and they'll able to know the examples, different examples and the latest tools after this lecture. So we start from the what is performance testing. So we can see here the performance testing is the process of determining the speed, responsiveness and the stability of a computer, network, software program or the devices under a workload. So it is not a testing for the functioning, to check the functioning of a software. Basically it is the testing which is here to check the quality of the software basically. And the performance testing that checks the speed, responsive time, the reliability, the resource usage, the scalability of a software program under their expected workload. The purpose of software testing is not to find the functional defects but to eliminate the performance bottlenecks in the software and devices. We focus of the performance, or the focus of performance testing is to checking a software program basically on these parameters. What parameters are to be there, we will look here only. The speed, which determines whether the application responds quickly or not. Second one, we will look at the scalability, determines the maximum user load of the software application can handle or not. And the third one, we will see at the stability, where it determines if the application is stable under varying load or not. So these are the things which are tested in the performance testing. Performance testing is a popularity called puff testing and is a subset of the performance engineering basically. Now we move forward. Why do we do the performance testing? The performance testing is done to provide stakeholders with information about their application regarding speed, stability and scalability. So that's why these are the reasons we do the performance testing. The features and the functionality supported by a software system is not the only concern. A software application performance, like its response time, reliability, resource usage and the scalability do matter. The goal of performance testing is not to find bugs but the eliminate performance bottlenecks. We can see more important in the performance testing uncovers what needs to be improved before the product goes to the market. Without performance testing, software is likely to suffer from issues such as running slow while several users use it simultaneously, the inconsistency across different operating systems and the poor usability. So these are the reasons basically. Performance testing will determine whether their software meets speed, scalability and the stability requirements under expected workloads. Applications sent market with poor performance matrices due to the non-existent or a poor performance testing are likely to gain a bad reputation and fail to meet expected sales goals. Also, we can say the mission critical applications like space launch programs or the life saving medical equipment should be performance tested to ensure that they run for a long period without deviations, because it is very important. They are used for the real life applications or the medical equipments that are treated different dangerous disease, so that's why their performance should not be deviated. If we took an latest example, so we can say according to the Dun and the Bradstreet, the 59% of the Fortune 500 companies experience an estimated 1.6 hours of the downtime every week, considering the average Fortune 500 companies with a minimum of 10,000 employees is paying $56 per hour. The labor part of the downtime cost for such an organization would be $896,000 per week, translating into more than $46 million per year. Only a 5-minute downtime of Google.com, this is data of August 2013, is estimated to cost search giant as much as $545,000. It's estimated that companies lost sales worth $1,100 per second due to a recent Amazon Web Service outage. So that's why the performance testing is important. Now we look at the types of performance testing. So we can look from the diagram. There are different types of performance testing: load testing, endurance testing, volume testing, stress testing, spike testing, and the scalability testing. So these are the types of performance testing. Now we start from the load testing. In load testing, we check the application ability to perform under anticipated user loads. The objective is to identify the performance bottlenecks before the software application goes live. Now the next one is stress testing, involving testing an application under extreme workload to see how it handles high traffic or the data processing. The objective is to identify the breaking point of an application. So in a stress testing, we look at the breaking point. After that, we look at spike testing. In spike testing, testers test the software's reaction to sudden large spikes in the load generated by the users. So if a suddenly load generated, then we look at the reaction of the software. Then we look at the scalability testing. In the scalability testing, the objective of the scalability testing is to determine the software application's effectiveness in scaling up to the support and increasing in user load. It helps plan capacity addition to your software system. So it is also an important thing. Now we look at the volume testing. The volume testing is testing of large number of data is to populated in a database, and the overall software system behavior is monitored. The objective is to check software application performance under varying database volumes. So if you increase the number of databases, then what is the performance of the system. And in the last, we look at the endurance testing. So is to done to make sure the software can handle the expected load over a long period of time. So this is the endurance testing, where we look that it can be bear the long time period or not at the high load. So these are the different types of software testing where we can have a different parameters. Now we move forward to the common performance problems in a performance testing. What are the different kinds of problems? So we can look here the long load time, the poor response time, poor scalability, and the bottlenecking. These are the problems basically. So we start from the long load time. So the most performance problems revolve around speed, response time, load time, poor scalability. Speed is the often one of the most important attributes of an application, as definitely we know very well. A slow running application will lose potential users. Definitely the performance testing is done to make sure an application runs fast enough to keep a user's attention and the interest. Take a look at the following list of the common parameters or problems. Notice how speed is a common factor in many of them. Definitely we can see at the long load time. A long load time is to normally initial time it takes an application to start. This should generally be kept to a minimum. While some applications are impossible to make load in under a minute, load time should be kept under a few seconds if possible, because users cannot wait for a long time. Now second one, we can look at the poor response time. A response time is the time it takes from when a user input data into the application until the application outputs a response to the input generally. Now this should be very quick. Again, if a user has to wait too long, they lose interest. Now if you look at the poor scalability, so a software product suffer a poor scalability when it cannot handle the exact number of users, or when it does not accommodate a wide enough range of the data. And in the last, we'll look at the bottleneck. So it's also very important, and today we'll finish here, and thank you.